In Chapter 1, Barrow and Sampa, two 16-year-old boys, plan to steal Jade from Shanju, a drunken greenbone at the Twice Lucky restaurant. After Barrow spikes Sean's drink, he observes the Make brothers, members of the powerful No Peak clan. Sampa retrieves the jade earrings from Sean in the restroom, but the plan goes awry when Sean awakens. In a panic, Barrow accidentally fires his gun, causing chaos in the restaurant. Seizing the moment, he escapes, feeling an exhilarating rush of power from the jade he stole. He rushes to the patio but is stopped by Maektar. In Chapter 2, a gunshot disrupts a dinner at the Twice Lucky restaurant, prompting Hilo and the Maek brothers to subdue a teenage thief. Hilo diffuses a potential violent confrontation with Sean Judenru, returning stolen jade to calm him. Afterward, Hilo learns from a captured Abuke boy that a new carver has killed the previous one, Three-Fingered G, and is now running a black market jade operation. Hilo, concerned about the implications for No Peak, orders the Maek brothers to bring the thieves to see the pillar for questioning, intending to address this emerging threat. In Chapter 3, Kaul Lanshinwan struggles with insomnia, feeling the pressure of leadership as the new pillar of the No Peak clan. He seeks solitude in the garden, where he encounters his advisor, Yoon Doropon, who discusses the upcoming Keikon Jade Alliance vote and the tension surrounding jade exports. Hilo, Lanshinwan's younger brother, arrives with two beaten boys who reveal information about a new player, the Carver, in the jade trade. Tensions rise between Hilo and Doropon over how to handle the potential threat from the Mountain Clan, leading Lanshinwan to assert his authority and call for caution while preparing for conflict. In Chapter 4, Lan visits his grandfather, Kaul Sen, a former leader in the Green Bone Uprising, now reflecting on his past. Kaul Sen reminisces about the war, expressing sorrow over lost comrades and the legacy he built. Their conversation shifts to Lan's cousin, Shay, who is returning home, provoking Kaul Sen's anger due to her past choices. Lan proposes replacing Doru as weatherman, seeking a new perspective, but Kaul Sen fiercely defends Doru's loyalty and experience. An argument escalates into a physical confrontation, culminating in Kaul Sen's assertion that true strength comes from intention. Lan leaves feeling isolated. In Chapter 5, Hilo meets with Tar, discussing the need to protect their territory without resorting to violence. As he drives to his home, he reflects on his role as Horn and his relationship with his brother Lan. Later, he sneaks into Wen's apartment where they share an intimate moment. Hilo is reminded of his deep feelings for Wen, contrasting them with his unresolved anger towards Lan for not handling a jade thief. Wen advises Hilo to prepare for potential conflict, urging him to evaluate his fists and consider recruiting from the academy. Hilo resolves to visit his cousin Andon. In Chapter 6, Shaylinson returns to Janloon after 2 years in Espenia, feeling nostalgic and determined to assert her independence by not contacting her brother for a ride. Upon arriving at the Kaul estate, she is welcomed by her brother Hilo and their grandfather, Kaul Sen. Shay has rented an apartment, aiming to reconnect with her family while carving her own path. Hilo expresses his need for her in clan matters, insisting that the mountain poses a threat. Despite Hilo's warm forgiveness, Shay remains firm in her decision to stay out of clan business, emphasizing her need to figure things out independently. In Chapter 7, Year 8 students at Kaul Dushuren Academy undergo a rigorous jade training exercise, where Emery Andon succeeds while Tun struggles with a burn. Afterward, Andon meets his cousin, Kaul Hilo, who offers birthday wishes and discusses Andon's future as a greenbone, emphasizing the importance of loyalty and discipline. Hilo reassures Andon about his mixed heritage and suggests military-grade SN1 as a potential aid for jade sensitivity. Hilo reveals growing tensions between their clan and the mountain, hinting at impending conflict. This concern lingers for Andon, setting the stage for future events. In Chapter 8, the Boat Day festivities begin in Keekan, marking the start of typhoon season. Andon, Tan, and their classmates indulge in food and drink, but Andon soon separates himself to find a restroom. He mistakenly enters mountain territory and is confronted by local teens who challenge him for wearing Kaldu Academy colors. After a brief scuffle, Gaunt Ashentu, a powerful greenbone, intervenes and dispels the attackers. He recognizes Andon, remarks on his ties to the Kaul family, and suggests they talk. Gaunt then takes Andon away in a car, heading toward the mountain. In Chapter 9, Lan attends a meeting with Doru and 2 lantern men when he receives an urgent call informing him that Andon has been taken by the Mountain Clan. The caller assures Lon that Andon will be released in 3 hours, provided no peak does not provoke a conflict. Concerned for Andon's safety, Lon attempts to reach his brother Hilo, who is likely to react violently upon learning of the abduction. After unsuccessful attempts to contact family members, Lon updates Doru on the situation and decides to cancel his meetings, opting to wait for news on Andon's release. In Chapter 10, Andon is brought to the Ait mansion, where he waits anxiously before meeting Aitmata. She makes a surprising offer. She wants Andon to join the Mountain Clan and work for her expansion in Igutan. The shocking part of her proposal is that the Mountain plans to sell SN1 Shine, a drug that enables foreigners to wear jade, violating traditional Greenbone values. Andon realizes he is not just a hostage, but a messenger for Ait's offer to the Kaul family, sparking a deeper conflict between the clans. In Chapter 11, Hilo confronts Andon about his risky meeting with Gaunt, reminding him to stay vigilant as his status in the clan increases. Andon explains the encounter, assuring Hilo it wasn't Gaunt's men who hurt him. After reuniting with Lon, Andon shares Aitmata's message about a potential partnership in the production of SN1. Lon, Hilo, and Doru discuss the proposal. While Doru sees financial potential, Hilo and Lon are skeptical, viewing it as a ploy by the Mountain to gain power. Lon decides to reject the offer, prioritizing the clan's independence and principles. In Chapter 12, Barrow reflects on his disfigured face and the loss of Jade, haunted by memories of the Twice Lucky incident. His former partner, Sampa, has abandoned the criminal life, taking a job as a bike courier, but Barrow sabotages him, resulting in Sampa losing his job. Living with his aunt, Barrow hears about a man named Mut, a jade-wearing fence and informer for the Mountain Clan. Barrow approaches Mut, eager for work and power. Mut tests Barrow's readiness, and Barrow, driven by ambition, declares his intent to work for him. In Chapter 13, Shay begins settling into her new apartment and adjusting to life in Janloon. She enjoys the independence but struggles with her job search, resisting the urge to use her family connections. Her brother, Lon, visits unexpectedly and asks for a favor. He expresses doubts about Doru, the weatherman, and asks Shay to visit the jade mines to review their records. Shay is hesitant, wary of being drawn back into clan affairs, but ultimately agrees to help Lon as a personal favor, postponing her own plans to assist her brother. In Chapter 14, Lon contemplates appointing his own weatherman, considering his aide Woon as a candidate, though he has reservations about Woon's capabilities. Lon and Woon meet Chancellor Sun at Wisdom Hall, discussing the potential risks of one clan controlling the Kikon Jade Alliance, KJA. Lon proposes a law to prevent any single clan from dominating the jade supply. Sun supports the idea but seeks further concessions. Woon impresses Lon by suggesting tariffs on foreign textiles to support local industries, which pleases Sun. The meeting concludes with a subtle inquiry into Kalsen's influence over No Peak. In Chapter 15, Hilo, accompanied by Maektar, Obu, and In, confronts the Chrome Demon's biker gang about their street racing and robberies in No Peak territory. After swiftly overpowering their leader Oken, Hilo demands tribute and proposes a deal. The gang will provide information about Temben, a black market dealer linked to the Mountain Clan, in exchange for leniency. The gang hesitates but eventually agrees. Hilo asserts No Peak's authority while signaling that the demons may act freely in mountain territory. The confrontation ends with Oken reluctantly kneeling in submission. In Chapter 16, Shay travels to a jade mine to inspect operations at Lon's request. After a difficult journey, she meets the mine's supervisor and reviews the site. Despite her discomfort near the raw jade, Shay examines the workers and equipment. She then investigates the mine's financial records, noticing significant capital investments and rising operating costs. While reviewing documents, Shay discovers that Gaunt Ashentu, the Horn of the Mountain, signed mining equipment purchase orders, an unusual finding, as this should have been handled by the Kakin Jade Alliance. Shay decides to return to Janloon immediately with her findings. In Chapter 17, Lon relaxes at the Lilac Divine, a No Peak affiliated club, where Uni, a charm girl, performs a private song for him. As Lon tries to unwind, his mind drifts to the complex clan issues he faces, including tensions with Hilo, Shay's discovery of irregular jade mine dealings, and his distrust of Doru. Despite enjoying a sensual encounter with Uni, Lon's worries remain. His peace is interrupted when Mike Kan arrives, bloodied and frantic, delivering urgent news. The Mountain Clan has targeted Hilo, escalating the conflict between the rival clans. First interlude. Deitist teachings describe how the gods, living in jade palaces in heaven, created Earth as a second home when space became limited. However, their quarrelsome children fought over Earth's resources, angering the god parents. In punishment, they stripped their children of divine powers, exiled them to Earth, and shattered the unfinished Jade Palace, burying it beneath a mountainous island. While some gods offered help, others held grudges. According to Deitist philosophy, earthly conflict stems from this original betrayal, and humanity's efforts aim to regain the divine state they lost. In Chapter 18, Hilo is called to help Mr. Pak, whose grocery was vandalized by Mountain Clan members. Tensions between the clans are rising, and Hilo is frustrated that Wen refuses to move in with him due to her concerns about family disapproval. After investigating the attack, Hilo tracks down the vandals, but an assassination attempt interrupts his plan. Hilo and his men fend off the attackers, killing 2 of them, though Maektar is injured. Hilo publicly warns the district, demanding information on the escaped attackers and asserting No Peak's authority before rushing Tar to the hospital. In Chapter 19, Shay uncovers discrepancies in the Keekan Treasury's Jade records, revealing that Jade is missing from national reserves. After leaving the Treasury, she is startled to realize she is being followed, only to find it is her neighbor, Kaun Yu. The next morning, Shay learns that her brother Hilo has been attacked, prompting her to rush to the Kaul house, where she finds her brothers and Doru in a tense meeting. Hilo reveals that Tar is in the hospital after the attack. Lan decides to confront their enemies, leaving Shay anxious about the impending conflict. In Chapter 20, Lan and Hilo arrive at the factory, an old textile building now used by the Mountain Green Bones, in search of the assassins Gam Oben and Chandal. Hilo sends an unarmed messenger to demand the assassins' heads and control of the Armpit District. Gam and Chan eventually emerge. Gam offers his life as punishment, and Lan accepts the challenge. They duel, with Lan ultimately defeating Gam. Afterward, the No Peak clan celebrates their victory, chanting Lan's name. Despite the triumph, Lan feels the weight of the Jade and questions the close nature of the fight. In Chapter 21, Shay sits with her grandfather, Kaul Sen, who questions her choices and expresses concern about her brothers, Lan and Hilo, and their dangerous endeavors. Despite her efforts to reassure him, she grapples with her identity and her place in the family, feeling disconnected from her brothers' roles in the clan. When they return, Lan reveals they executed 2 enemies, but tensions remain high as they face potential retaliation. Shay shares findings about missing jade production, suggesting Doru may be involved in a scheme with the Mountain Clan. Lan decides to keep this information secret for now, prompting Shay to reflect on her uncertain identity and place within the family. In Chapter 22, Lan instructs Hilo to discreetly monitor Doru for possible treachery against the clan. They discuss the complexities of family loyalty and the implications of Doru's potential betrayal, especially regarding their grandfather. Hilo expresses concern about Shay's involvement in clan affairs, while Lan insists on respecting her autonomy. The conversation shifts to Hilo's desire to marry Wen, a member of the disgraced Mike family. Despite his reservations, Lan ultimately gives his blessing for the marriage, acknowledging the urgency of their current circumstances and Hilo's commitment, highlighting the burden of leadership and family dynamics within their clan. In Chapter 23, Barrow and Cheeky successfully execute a hijacking of a truck loaded with luxury goods, fleeing the docks before any guards can respond. After delivering the stolen items to Mutt, they receive payment and information about JK Trucking's schedule, vital for future heists. Mutt introduces them to a Green Bone, who offers them submachine guns as part of their initiation into a dangerous world. The Green Bone warns them of the consequences of misusing their new weapons and sets expectations for their loyalty. As the weather worsens, he reminds Mutt to adhere to strict rules, highlighting the precarious nature of their situation. In Chapter 24, Typhoon Loco wreaks havoc on Kaken, prompting the closure of businesses and schools in Janloon. At Kaul Dushurin Academy, students pack supplies for disaster relief, showcasing their commitment to helping others. Andon remains quiet as tensions rise among his classmates over potential clan conflicts, particularly regarding the Mountain's ambitions. Rumors circulate about the recent assassination attempt on Kaul Hilo, heightening anxiety. After the storm, Andon and his peers assist in recovery efforts, where Andon feels increasingly conflicted about his identity and clan loyalty. Gaunt Ash confronts Andon, offering advice and revealing the dangers surrounding their families. In Chapter 25, Hilo realizes that No Peak has gained little from their agreement with the Mountain, who still controls profitable areas. Hilo deals with a crime spree in the docks, where thieves are stealing luxury goods, likely orchestrated by the Mountain. He orders the execution of 2 thieves, sparing one for information. Hilo visits Tar in the hospital, announcing his engagement to Wen. Their conversation reveals Wen's concerns about the war and her place in it. Hilo reassures her while promoting the need for clan strength against the Mountain. He strategizes defenses, knowing a larger conflict looms ahead. In Chapter 26, Lan meets with a group of Lantern Men to address concerns about the impending war between the No Peak and Mountain clans. He assures them that all previously funded projects will continue and outlines measures for security. Lan sends Doru to Igutan to gather intelligence on the Mountain's operations, emphasizing his need for trust and discretion. Later, at a lunch with Chancellor Santamaro and the Royal Council, Lan announces the suspension of the Hikon Jade Alliance due to financial discrepancies, asserting that the Mountain Clan is likely responsible. He stresses the importance of accountability in maintaining stability. In Chapter 27, Shay returns to Morania and meets her mother, Kaul Wanria, who shares her daily life but remains emotionally distant. Shay reflects on her 2 years away and the differences between Morania and Janloon, realizing the clan's traditions feel outdated. After returning to Janloon, she discovers she's been secretly watched by Kan Yu on Hilo's orders for her safety after a violent incident involving her brother Andon. Shay confronts Hilo about the surveillance and their family's issues, insisting on her independence. Upset, she leaves and later finds her landlord waiting with her keys, indicating concern for her well-being. In Chapter 28, Andon is tasked by Lan to pick up a mysterious package, which heightens his suspicions. After retrieving the envelope, Andon meets Lan at the Kaul estate, where they practice deflection. Frustrated, Lan reveals that the package contains vials of SN1, indicating he's struggling with the effects of New Jade. He explains that while Shine is a societal plague, SN1 can help Green Bones manage Jade exposure. Lan insists on keeping this secret and urges Andon not to share it with anyone. Distressed, Andon rushes back to the academy, grappling with the weight of their family's legacy. In Chapter 29, Barrow feels the dangers of stealing from the docks increase due to Mike Kane's crew. Excited by the opportunity Mutt presents, Barrow practices shooting with Cheeky. They meet a Greenbone at Mutt's garage, who offers them a dangerous job involving the Lilac Divine Gentlemen's Club, a high-class, no-peak establishment. He instructs them to create chaos with their guns, emphasizing the risks they'll face from powerful clan members inside. Despite knowing the dangers, Barrow eagerly accepts the job to prove his worth, driven by past resentment and envy toward the Greenbones. They await further instructions. In Chapter 30, Shay attends a relay ball game at Kaul Du Academy, where her cousin Andon plays skillfully. After the match, Andon expresses concern about Lan's poor decisions, and Shay encourages him to focus on his studies rather than clan issues. Feeling unsettled, Shay visits the Temple of Divine Return, reflecting on her relationship with family traditions. She recalls childhood services led by her grandfather, Kaul Sen, and how her mother's philosophy of propriety shaped her upbringing. Now, despite achieving independence with a job offer, Shay feels lonely and uncertain about her beliefs and seeks guidance from the ancestors. In Chapter 31, Lan learns from Hilo that Doru is colluding with the Mountain Clan and is being secretly funded. As he prepares to confront Doru, he appoints Woon as the new weatherman. While walking, Lan experiences chest pain, suspecting he may have overdosed on SN1. As he struggles to reach the street, he is confronted by 2 armed teenagers who open fire. Lan uses his Jade abilities to deflect bullets, injuring one attacker. However, the pain intensifies, causing him to collapse. In a desperate moment, he stumbles into the water, finding temporary relief from his suffering. Second interlude. The story of Genshu, a devout man, unfolds. After opposing a despotic king, he sails with his family for 40 years, searching for the original Jade Palace. Upon reaching a lush island, Yato, the father of all, guides him to Jade Stones, a divine gift. Genshu retreats to the mountains, gaining wisdom and abilities, emerging occasionally to help his descendants. At 300, he is taken to heaven by the gods. Kekinese deists view themselves as Jenshu's descendants, and only Greenbones call him Old Uncle. The gods promise that all will be welcomed back to godliness through the 4 divine virtues. In Chapter 32, Shay receives a call from Hilo before dawn, revealing that Lan is dead, drowned at the docks. Grief-stricken, she agrees to be picked up. Once in the car, she insists on stopping at the bank to retrieve her jade, which she hasn't worn in 2.5 years. After donning her jade, she feels an overwhelming rush of power and a mix of euphoria and remorse. Arriving at the family house, she finds Hilo and other armed family members. Determined, she tells Hilo she knows where to go, and he expresses his intent for vengeance. In Chapter 33, Gaunt Ash learns from a messenger that Kaul Lan is dead and that Kaul Hilo is on his way to confront him. Gaunt quickly prepares for battle, ordering his men to clear the Silver Spur and arm themselves. Meanwhile, Hilo and Shay devise a plan for a decoy attack to mislead the Mountain Clan. As chaos erupts, Shay leads a fierce assault on the Kong Lady Casino, killing several mountain fighters and asserting No Peak's control over the area. The brutal conflict leaves 21 mountain members dead, signaling the start of open war between the clans. In Chapter 34, Shay wakes up in her childhood bedroom, overwhelmed by grief after Lan's death and her violent actions with Hilo. She learns that their grandfather is sedated due to a breakdown from Lan's death, and Hilo has taken on the role of pillar. Hilo informs her that Doru has been stripped of jade and imprisoned, and there will be retaliation from the Mountain Clan. Hilo asks Shay to be his weatherman, stressing the need for her support to protect No Peak. Ultimately, Shay accepts the role, vowing her loyalty to the clan and its pillar. In Chapter 35, Barrow receives medical treatment at an all-night clinic after the events at the pier. He learns from the news that Kaul Lan, the pillar of No Peak, has been assassinated, which fills him with twisted pride for having played a part in it. When he returns to the Goody Two, he informs Mutt that he killed Kaul, but Mutt is horrified, revealing that they were only supposed to scare Kaul, not kill him. Fearing for his life, Mutt insists Barrow escape through a hidden tunnel. Despite his anger, Barrow realizes he must flee to survive. In Chapter 36, Lan's funeral procession moves through Janloon to the ancestral burial ground, attended by family and clan members. Hilo, walking behind the hearse, grapples with exhaustion and grief, feeling the weight of his new role as pillar of the No Peak clan. At the cemetery, he confronts his family's pain, particularly his mother's and grandfather's, while acknowledging the tension with rival clans. Andon reveals that Lan had been acting strangely before his death, but Hilo insists on preserving Lan's legacy. He vows to protect the clan's honor and keep Lan's jade, promising to prove his brother wrong about his capabilities. In Chapter 37, Shay visits the Weatherman's house, where Yun Doropong is guarded by Junior Fingers. Despite Doru's jade withdrawal, he inquires about Lan's death, which Shay confirms was due to an ambush. Doru claims he acted for the clan's best interest and explains his past collaboration with the Mountain. Shay, disgusted, offers to protect Doru from execution if he agrees to care for her ailing grandfather, Kaul Sen. Doru accepts her terms, promising to keep his distance from clan politics. Shay is determined to ensure her grandfather's comfort in his final days, prioritizing his needs over clan justice. In Chapter 38, Mr. Un notices 2 armed greenbones from the No Peak clan at his restaurant, the Twice Lucky, anticipating trouble due to the recent death of Pillar Kaul Lan. When they receive a call that the Mountain Clan is attacking, Mr. Un evacuates the few customers and staff. As gunfire erupts outside, Gaunt Ash, Horn of the Mountain, enters with his warriors. After a brief confrontation, Gaunt demands allegiance and increased tribute from Mr. Une. Initially refusing, Mr. Une ultimately pledges loyalty to the Mountain Clan to save his restaurant from destruction. Gaunt accepts, revealing his plans for further conquest. In Chapter 39, Shay stands in Doru's office, grappling with her new role as weatherman amid clan turmoil following Lan's murder. Nervous, she meets Woon, Doru's former pillarman, and convinces him to become her chief of staff, emphasizing the need for unity and support. They discuss appointing Hami Tumashan as Master Luckbringer, aiming to strengthen the clan's leadership. In a subsequent meeting with senior Luckbringers, Shay outlines her plans to bolster No Peak's position against the Mountain. Despite initial skepticism, her authority begins to solidify. Shay concludes her day feeling cautiously optimistic about maintaining her leadership. In Chapter 40, Hilo holds a tense meeting with the Make brothers after recent losses in the ongoing conflict. They've lost the southern docks, with 3 of No Peak's fists killed, and the Twice Lucky has fallen into enemy hands. Hilo, frustrated, decides to delay a counterattack, knowing their forces are too weak. He appoints Tar as his new pillarman, emphasizing the need for strategic planning. Shay confronts Hilo about meeting the Royal Council, urging him to negotiate for a truce to protect their clan's interests. They both recognize the broader implications of the war and the necessity of political maneuvering. In Chapter 41, the pre-trials at Kaul Academy are held, where Andon performs exceptionally, winning the First of Class award and securing a Jade stud. Tensions escalate when Andon confronts Lot about their clan's uncertain future amidst war, fueled by his grief over Lon's death. Hilo, the Pillar, advises Andon on the importance of leadership and understanding others, highlighting that respect must be earned. Afterward, Hilo gifts Andon a Jade stone, enhancing his abilities and connection to his clan. Despite the thrill, Andon grapples with anxiety about the potential dangers of Jade, reflecting on Hilo's recent struggles. In Chapter 42, Tem Ben conducts a black market Jade transaction at Paw Paw Pawn Shop, feeling secure despite the chaos caused by the Greenbones infighting. He assesses a jade knife brought in by a nervous thief and underestimates its significance. Suddenly, a man enters and locks the door, prompting Tem to arm himself. As he prepares for confrontation, the man, Mike Tar, breaks through the wall and captures Tem. Mike reveals he knows Tem is a white rat, a clan operative, and threatens him for information about No Peak territory. Tem defiantly refuses, leading to escalating violence. In Chapter 43, Shay returns to the Kaul house after a late night at the weatherman's office, feeling a mix of strangeness and homecoming. She is moved back in due to the war, as her previous apartment no longer felt secure. Mike Wen greets her and invites her for tea, revealing her efforts in renovating the Horn's residence. Their conversation shifts to the war, and Wen expresses her desire to contribute as a white rat, a spy, due to her status as a Stone Eye. Despite Shay's hesitations, Wen insists on her willingness to take risks for Hilo and the clan, suggesting that Shay might reconsider her initial judgments about her. In Chapter 44, Barrow grapples with his rage and disappointment over his situation following the war in Janloon. After fleeing through a tunnel and hiding on Little Button Island, he learns of Moot's death. Frustrated, he breaks into the Goody 2 store, discovering a hidden trapdoor that leads to untouched boxes of shine, which he takes. Just as he prepares to leave, he encounters Mutt's son, who is seeking revenge on Meg for his father's death. Barrow sees potential in teaming up with the boy to obtain Jade, suggesting they can acquire it together. In Chapter 45, Hilo surrenders his weapons to a Green Bone guard and enters Wisdom Hall for mediation between clan leaders. The atmosphere is tense, with penitents present to ensure peace. Ayatmata arrives and presents a list of grievances against No Peak, claiming their actions harm the public. Hilo responds with his clan's demands, feeling frustrated at the superficial negotiations. After 2 days of unproductive discussions, he learns that Gunjaru, a comrade injured in battle, did not survive surgery. Overwhelmed by anger and grief, Hilo vents his frustrations in the car with Maiktar, who seeks to share good news about their operations. In Chapter 46, Hilo meets with Chancellor Sun Tamarho at Wisdom Hall to discuss the ongoing mediation efforts. Hilo feels a lack of respect from Sun, stemming from past tensions and the current war. Hilo acknowledges the necessity of increased tribute due to the war, but insists that the Lantern men must be loyal and supportive during this crisis. He confronts Sun about the urgency of their situation, emphasizing that the mountain poses a serious threat to No Peak's survival. The chapter culminates in Hilo accusing Ayatmata of dishonorable actions regarding Jade, disrupting the mediation and revealing tensions within the council. In Chapter 47, Shay arrives early at the temple, reflecting on her previous experiences and the energetic presence of the penitents. She prays for her brother Kaul Lanshinwan, feeling the gravity of her surroundings. Ayatmata enters, asserting she didn't order Kaul's death, but acknowledges her responsibility, claiming it was meant to send a message. 8 reveals her strategy to unite the clans against foreign threats and offers Shay a position of power, suggesting she usurp Hilo. Shay refuses, rejecting Ait's vision of conquest and power, prompting Ait to warn her of dire consequences. Ait leaves, leaving Shay shaken and fearful for her clan's future. In Chapter 48, Hilo confronts his sister Shay about Doru's escape, which threatens No Peak's secrets and defenses. Furious, Hilo realizes their grandfather, Kaul provided Doru with Jade, leading to the latter's freedom. Hilo and Shay discuss the dire state of No Peak, including significant losses in tourism and jade exports due to the ongoing war with the mountain. Shay acknowledges the need for money and a shift in the street war, emphasizing the urgency of their situation. Hilo reflects on the potential extinction of his bloodline and resolves to plan for survival amidst the chaos. In Chapter 49, Mike Wen approaches a ferry to Human Island carrying a funeral urn that conceals Jade. Despite the scrutiny from Gaunt's fingers, she passes inspection and boards the ferry. Upon arriving, she is greeted by a driver named Mr. Sidhu, who conveys her to a heavily secured Espenian base. There, Wen meets Colonel Deller, revealing her identity and the jade hidden in the urn. Deller, realizing the jade's immense value, discusses the potential for a confidential arrangement with No Peak, as military concerns about Kikon escalate due to ongoing clan warfare. In Chapter 50, the severed head of Lot Penshugan is delivered to the Kaul estate, inciting Hilo's rage as he mourns the loss of his fists, feeling personally attacked by Gaunt Ash. Hilo visits Lot's family, offering condolences and support, especially to Lot's son, who must now lead his family. Hilo reflects on his past with the Make brothers, recalling a pivotal fight that earned respect for them. Meanwhile, Hilo learns of Aiton's gruesome injuries inflicted by Gaunt, who delivers a message demanding Hilo's surrender by New Year's Day or face further violence. Hilo vows to honor Aiton's wishes and strategizes for the clan's survival amidst increasing threats. Third interlude. The legendary Kekonese hero Baizhen, famed for his bravery, is remembered as a mortal warrior, unlike his divine uncle Old Uncle Jenshu. After being slain by Tuni General Shak, Baizhen witnesses his people's struggle against invaders from heaven. In desperation, he pleads with the gods to return to Earth for one night to save his wife and people. The gods initially refuse but relent after Baizhen's persistence. He returns, kills General Shak, and fulfills his pact, ensuring the general's soul ascends to heaven while Baizhen remains an exiled spirit on Earth for eternity. In Chapter 51, New Year's Eve, preparations for the holiday in Janloon are subdued due to the clan's distress. Shay and Hilo reflect on the impending transition of power following their brother Lan's death. They discuss Shay's efforts to strengthen their position and her recent connections, as well as her new role as pillar. Hilo reveals that he buried Lan with his jade, confirming suspicions about foul play. Tensions rise as Hilo accuses the mountain of orchestrating Lan's death. Despite the pain, Shay acknowledges the intertwined fates of the clans, realizing their enemies played a significant role in their downfall. In Chapter 52, Hilo dresses formally for his marriage to Wen, acknowledging the urgency of the moment. Despite the somber circumstances, they decide to marry that day with Shay and Kane as witnesses. The ceremony, officiated by Judge Leto, is brief but heartfelt, emphasizing vows of humility, compassion, courage, and goodness. Hilo feels conflicted about his dual loyalties to Wen and the clan. After the wedding, they share an intimate moment together, cherishing their bond amid uncertainty. Hilo resolves to ensure Wen's safety and future, regardless of what may come. In Chapter 53, Andon arrives at the Kaul house on New Year's Eve, reflecting on his time at the academy and the trials he recently completed. He joins the family dinner, but the atmosphere feels heavy due to Lan's absence. Hilo greets him warmly but is tense, as their grandfather, Kaul makes a harsh comment about Andon's mixed heritage. Despite the strained dinner, Andon is determined to support Hilo's plans for the clan. Hilo asks Andon to take the oaths of a Greenbone, marking his commitment to the clan. Andon pledges his loyalty and is embraced by Hilo as a brother. In Chapter 54, Hilo and Andon arrive at the Twice Lucky restaurant for a confrontation with Gaunt Ash and his mountain fighters. Tension builds as Hilo confronts Gaunt, accusing him of dishonorable actions against Aiton. Gaunt offers a pragmatic perspective on clan warfare, contrasting it with the selflessness of Baizhen. Hilo insists on a clean duel, aiming for a warrior's death. As Hilo fights multiple opponents, he showcases his skill but is eventually overwhelmed. Just as Gaunt prepares to deliver a fatal blow, Andon taps into his latent jade power, enabling Hilo to stab Gaunt. In the ensuing chaos, both Gaunt and Hilo suffer fatal consequences. In Chapter 55, Andon wakes up in the hospital after killing Gaunt Ash and 2 other men. Despite his injuries, he is consumed by memories of the exhilaration he felt from harnessing Jade. Hilo visits and reassures Andon that he is alive and the clan has gained an advantage over the mountain. Hilo explains that after the fight, Kane and Tar helped reclaim the docks and that Gaunt's death has weakened their enemies. However, 8 remains a threat. Andon struggles with feelings of emptiness and cravings for Jade, worrying about the effects of the drugs in his IV, but Hilo assures him he will recover. In Chapter 56, graduation day arrives at Kaul Academy, marked by the aftermath of clan violence in Janloon. Andon, recovering from injuries, is honored as the top graduate but struggles with the pressure of expectations and his feelings of inadequacy. During the ceremony, he witnesses Lot take the oath for no peak, which stirs complex emotions in him. When called to receive his Jade, Andon unexpectedly refuses it, believing he is unworthy and fearing the power it brings. Hilo confronts Andon, frustrated and hurt, urging him to accept his place within the clan. Andon, feeling overwhelmed, maintains his stance against wearing Jade. In Chapter 57, Shay receives a letter from Yoon Dorapon warning her about the dangers ahead and advising her to plan her escape from Keikun. Reflecting on her family's resilience, she resolves to confront Dorapon rather than flee. At a brunch at the Twice Lucky, Hilo, still recovering from his injuries, struggles with guilt over Andon's fate. Shay encourages him to forgive, but he remains withdrawn. Mr. Uni presents Hilo with a box containing his own severed ear as a sign of loyalty. Hilo forgives him, demonstrating his growing authority and mercy. The chapter ends with a sense of cautious optimism for the clan's future. Epilogue. Barrow revisits the gravesite of Kaul Lanshinwan, finding it adorned with offerings from the clan. Accompanied by Moot, Barrow restrains him from vandalizing the grave, aware of the consequences of grave robbing. Barrow crouches by the monument, reflecting on the body of the man he killed, believing it to be buried with valuable jade that rightfully belongs to him. With the clan war subsiding and life in Janloon returning to normal, Barrow contemplates seizing new opportunities to reclaim his fortune, hinting at his intentions for the future.